Inomoto Cafe. Oi. Mayong buntag. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet they call Earth. This is Dan coming to you live from the Philippines, Bye Bye City Leyte. Just a few short steps from the Dunkin' Donuts. Who's in the house today? Who's in the house? Anna Mae Reyes, Laura Reese, the Philippines' most eligible bachelorette and socialite, and a mighty fine, all-around nice person. I saw Larry Lee. The Mac Daddy is in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Janzel is here. Rider Adventure, welcome, welcome. Menge, thank you for coming. Crystal's Adventure, it's always an adventure when Crystals is in the house. Daisy Lynn Castro enjoying her Domino's pizza. Nicole is here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Mike, married to a beautiful woman, is in the house. Oh boy, wait till I share with you the challenges of getting up and running. Let me kill this music. Let me kill this intro music. All right, we got that out of the way. All right, so Leonard Lunn is here. Hey guys, man, it was quite challenging to get things going this morning. I'll tell you why. Why? It's because this is the Philippines. That's why. In the Philippines, anything goes any time of the day or night. So we've been out of power for, I would say, 18 hours or so. And so I'm checking things out. I'm going into LICO and I'm trying to check things out. Where's the alert messages? So turns out that everybody is got all their power supply going to their air conditioners. It's so friggin' hot here in the Philippines. Now you probably are hearing my fan in the background. I got to tell you, I don't want to be around when the electric bill shows up because it's probably going to be one of the largest electric bills that we have seen so far while living in the Philippines. So anyway, it's so friggin' hot. You're going to hear my fans in the background. And I panicked, of course, because we got no power, right? We got no power. I got no way to fire up and do the live stream. So I went to Man Mini and said, it's time to fire up that generator out there. Now, I don't know how to fire it up. Man Mini does. She does all the engineering, right? She did all the engineering on this generator. So Sir Luke is in the house. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Sir Luke, I truly appreciate it. Bakil Mertz is here. So anyway, so Man Mini, she goes out there and she's firing it up. And then I went out there. I said, did you check the gas? Did you check the oil? You know, does it mix? How does this whole thing work? Right? And she's going, huh? She's going, what gas? What oil? What are you talking about? So now keep this in mind, right? To Man Mini's credit, she knows how the whole thing works. She can fire up that generator, and plus, she's pulling the levers and hitting the switches. She knows what breaker switch to turn off, what breaker switch to turn on that feeds the house. I mean, she's an amazing woman. But I say to her, okay, well, no. I say, where's the backup gas? And she's looking at me. She's looking at me, and I just see blank stares back at me, right? So Mel's in the house. Melanie, hi. Melanie Calapayan. Mel definitely knows how hot it is here in Bye City Leyte. It's hot all across Southeast Asia. There's a tremendous heat wave going on, and I'm begging you for relief. Whoever's in charge of this place, I'm begging you for relief. Make it rain, make it rain, make it rain. But I was watching Mike and Janet's channel. I think I saw Larry Lee there. I was lurking in the background, and somebody mentioned that it's raining somewhere. They're having monsoon somewhere in India. That's got to be a positive thing, right? It's got to mean that we will soon get some kind of relief here in the Philippines, but it has not yet happened. So that being said, giving you all the information, Man Mini sent brother-in-law Gel down to the gas station to to fill up the gas can, and now we're back in business. We've got the generator full. They're keeping an eye on it to make sure I get at least 2 hours. Otherwise, we really don't need electricity here unless I'm sitting in front of the TV. I would be heading to the Dunkin' Donuts. I'd be burning up their AC, but turns out, man, many things that because we have a festival going on here and it's sucking up juice and we have all the air conditioners running, that is probably what caused the power outage. They tried, she says, I was sleeping. I was sans Z's. She said it came up 2 or 3 times last night, but only for about 10 minutes at a time. Well, the electric company tried to get everything back in order and get it fired up. They could not do it. Folks they're just sucking too much power out of the system. It can't keep up. We're on diesel power generators on the island anyway, and so there's just no way to keep up with the kind of consumption that's going on with all that's going on. So now I'll tell you one of the good things as a result of this, right? One of the good things is I didn't have to listen to karaoke all night long because, of course, once the power went out, right, everybody grabbed their equipment and went home. And so now prior to that happening, I mean, it's sort of a funny story. It's sort of not, right? Because I love the Filipino culture so much. But there's a fiesta going on, folks. There's celebration going on today. As a matter of fact, they're out there cooking right now. Now you can cook. You only need a few. You don't need much. You just need some wood and. But anyway, they got the barbecue grill. We got gas. They're firing everything up, and they're doing the cooking for all the people that'll be making their way down to the house to celebrate. I don't know if you know how this works, the tradition of the Philippines, but when they have a fiesta and people are celebrating, you go house to house and you partake in whoever all is providing food. Now, can you imagine? You got the cano in town, right? The cano and the house and the whole thing, right? What would happen if Dan decided that all of a sudden, no, let's not cook for the neighbors. Forget about it. Let's not cook. And then the chisma starts up. I go down to the Dunkin' and everybody's staring at me. I start walking around town and I feel all eyes are upon the cano. Hey, during the fiesta, the cano did not celebrate by providing baboy, lechon, and lechon manuk for the celebration. That ain't happening. I just keep my mouth shut during these times when Minnie is going down there to the Metro Mark and loading up on groceries, stopping by the picking up the lechon, picking up the manuk. I just keep my mouth shut. This is part of the Filipino culture, right? Let me bring up now. I was lurking in Mike and Janet's channel, but somebody who wasn't lurking was Lazy Larry Lee, who is coming up right now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh,
how's everybody doing?
Wow, you sound excellent this evening, Larry.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
That's that new microphone. I got to get me one of those.
Yeah, it's the new one. Like I said, I got it mainly because I couldn't use my. I showed you the speakers the last time. I couldn't use those, and so I had to go into the living room if I wanted to watch the news while I was getting ready for work.
My wellness here.
Do it this way.
Sir Luke, may the force be with you. Hey, Larry. So, the more I watch Mike and Janet, the more I am endearing myself to them. Lainey is here. What do you think? They're very homey folks,
Yeah.
But their intro to their videos, you know how Janet lets her tongue hang out like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
That's the first
what
time
do you
I've
think?
caught. That's the first time I've caught their live stream.
Oh, okay.
I was
Pretty Chismusa is here. Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
yeah.
Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing there, Big Mac Daddy and Mr. Leonard? How you guys doing?
Good, good. How you all doing? Dan,
Yeah. Like I
Larry,
said, I
Ed.
came in. I said hi.
Good
I
evening,
watched till
gang.
I was getting ready to leave to come home from work. Uh, I didn't get to start. They came on at 6, but I was busy at 6, so I wasn't able to watch it from the get go. But when I got some time, I turned it on and watched till just about the time for me to go home. When my relief showed up, that's when I shut it down and started getting ready to go so I could get home, get my supper, and get ready to come on your live stream. So I figured your live stream was more important.
Annie MC is here. Thanks so much. Oh,
Hey,
you
Annie.
flatter me. You flatter me.
Leonard.
And
So
Jim?
today, oh man, there's so much to talk about. So we have a date for the big spin. The big Wheel of Fortune spin is going to be held on Wednesday, May 31st. My usual live stream time is 8 a.m. and that's when we're going to do it. So I let
that'd be 7 p.m. here. So that's
yeah,
good.
that would be 7 p.m. Tuesday night, right?
Yeah,
So I
Memorial
hope,
8 p.m. for me.
Hope all had a fantastic Mother's Day. I kind of like my heart was I kind of like I had mixed emotions going on Mother's Day, and the reason why is because people, in the Philippines, they post all kinds of things like, oh, nobody acknowledged me on Mother's Day, blah blah blah, or they were saying, Mom, happy Mother's Day in heaven. That stuff, I'm telling you that as far as the acknowledgement of being a mom goes, my own personal opinion about that, and I would like you guys to share this, is simply that moms should be celebrated every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have to make a special day to honor our mothers. Really, guys, really.
Yeah.
Talk about, I'd like to share with you, there's nothing, I'll tell you what, the relationship between a son and their mother is a really, really special one. And it's hard to describe that relationship, but I'm telling you, it's kind of difficult to talk about it in a way because I love my mom so much. So, but I was disappointed in some of the negative stuff that was floating around the Facebook.
I think BB King describes it best. Nobody loves you like your mother, and she could be jiving too.
I love it. Sing it for us. Sing it for us, Mac Daddy. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so I'm gonna hand out some jackets right now. I don't know why you need a jacket in this kind of heat, that's going on in the Philippines.
Really?
Yeah, it's so hot.
Can you anybody out there? I've been handing out these great glider videos I found on YouTube. Just sharing them. You gotta like me on Facebook though, so I can just look you up on Facebook and send it out to you. So you need to do that, Dan. I was going to send you a video, but I don't know how to get it to you.
Okay.
And my name is Edward D. Beck, and I'm a Pan Pizza on Facebook for my picture.
Edward D. Beck.
But I sent Larry one today if he had time to watch it.
I watched it at work.
Edward D.
It's kind of cool. It's different.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
And for me it's a head rush because you're flying, It's
hey, so Mike, listen to this. Mike is saying, hey, I need shorts and a t-shirt, no jacket. All right, so here's the story about that. Mike, I know it sounds kind of weird, but I typically wear jeans in the Philippines because it rhymes. That's one reason. I wear jeans in the Philippines, so I get a lot of stares, right? I had to discard the jeans this morning, and I had to look around for a very, very light pair of slacks. But my shorts, I realized I took all my shorts over to Cebu, except for maybe I've got some homemade shorts that Minnie took some slacks and she cut them down so that she sewed them up for shorts, but they were kind of wrinkly, and I know I'm going to be heading out to the Dunkin' this morning. So I did the next best thing. I put on this lightweight shirt, and then I got my my GoToMeeting slacks on, and it looks a little funny for the Philippines, but what the heck? I'm comfortable, and I got the fan going full blast in the background. So
I got carpenter shorts. They're my favorite. They're jeans, and they got extra pockets, even a hammer hook.
I left my carpenter shorts in Cebu, and so what are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do? I left them in Cebu.
I got a great cure for that. I bought 6 pair.
Dan, you got to go to the Okie store.
Yeah, exactly. But Mike is saying I wear shorts and T-shirt when in the Philippines, but with socks and runners. Hey, do you get laughs, Mike, when they see you with the socks on? So I'm like retired, right? Part of the requirement, Mike, for being retired, you and I are retired, right? So part of the requirement, I do believe, is you must wear, if you're in the Philippines, the requirement, actually, if you're anywhere in the world, is to wear sandals with knee socks, right? Am I right?
No, not knee socks. No. I may wear sandals with ankle socks.
I would wear Sperry boat shoes and no socks.
Tim is commenting saying that, yeah, Dan, but no, they're not staring at you because of that. They're staring at you because you're just plain strange.
We lost Leonard. Leonard evaporated.
He's coming back up. He's coming back up. He probably had to take an important phone call from one of his Filipina friends.
Well, I wish that was the case. I just clicked the wrong dang button.
I'm doing that all the time. I'm doing that all the time.
That.
I guess I hang around you too much, Dan.
Buttons, yeah, exactly. I'm like this. Breaker switches. Oh, he did it again.
No. He just cut his picture off.
All right. So now, let's see. Brian's here. Hey, Brian, what's going on? I'd walk around barefoot if I could. Always have. Yeah, I noticed about you, Brian. I noticed that about you. Yeah. Putting shoes on, that's a recent historical occurrence. Hey, today we were supposed to talk about the ancient city of the Philippines, but I was going to talk a little bit about Cebu. But, Dan is unprepared. I was going to do my research, and then all this happened. But the city of Cebu actually is pretty old. It's fairly old. It's something like a little less than 500 years old. Do I have that factoid correct?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So, but all the stuff that goes with it, I fell down on my research. I started researching it. Then all kinds of stuff started to happen around the house. And that makes for not such a good live stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it over to freestyle. But if you have a factoid that you'd like to share about the Philippines, you just jump right in there and share.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, go, Edward D.
Cebu is a line of bamboo and macatan furniture here in the States from the Philippines.
What? Are you serious?
They sell bars and couches and club chairs. Everything made out of bamboo for your backyard.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why can't I find that here in the Philippines?
You can. Maybe you're not looking where you need to. When you go over to Bohol, they got places that manufacture all that stuff.
Well, I look around, and you would expect that
you can buy it at Home Depot in Florida too.
Alfie is here.
They got patio furniture and folding chairs, and it's all bamboo.
Yeah. Here's the whole thing. You would expect that you would see as you're traveling down the roads in Mactan or even in Cebu City. You would expect that people would be catered to the tourists, and they would be putting all that stuff out there on display. But I've yet to see any of that stuff out there.
You can buy a whole Kobo hut for about. I don't know how much it is. I think it's 20,000 pesos.
Yeah, you can't hear. You just have to take a ride down the highway a little bit, and you're going to find the manufacturer right here on the island of
And they
Leyte.
deliver it to you in one piece. Like
They
20
will. They
guys in a
will.
truck come out and drop it off.
Yeah, because Brent, Beekeeping in Paradise, did a video about that where he bought a couple of those. Wasn't it Brent that did that? Larry, or who? Am I thinking of somebody else?
Well, there's your business, Dan. Or your own Airbnb. Rent out a dozen Kobo huts with electricity and air
I know
conditioning.
Steve did it in Philippine Expat. They got
Yeah, that's right. Steve also.
Yeah,
but I believe
Brent did it shortly after he first moved out because they had that one place the girls were playing in, and he wanted to get something newer.
Yeah, didn't they?
Crazy Monina had one delivered.
He bought two of them, right? They bought two of them.
I don't remember if it was two or not, but
I don't know about that. Crazy Monina and John, when John was around, had one. And it was very nice.
What? Child predators going to get the death penalty in Florida? New law passed?
That's all bullshit.
I think that might be
politics of Ron DeSantimonious.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's trying to posture himself. Yeah.
He's playing.
LV is here. LV, thank you for your support. Thank you, LV, very much for your support. 24 people, 24 million people are in the house. So anyway, Larry, when you made that comment about working a 12-hour shift over there on Mike and Janet's channel,
yeah,
was that the first that you commented in that live stream, or were you having a conversation?
I said hello. I was watching ads.
Yeah,
I did comment. And then I waited a while, and then I made the comment about the 12-hour shift when I was getting ready to get off. I'd been in there for about a half an hour longer.
Oh, okay. So hey, Ferdy is in the house. Ferdy, how you be?
Larry works many long hours. God bless him.
Yeah, I started thinking about work. You know, when I was watching somebody else's live stream, and they were talking about the benefits. I've done a short topic about this, the benefits of living in the United States right now, and I think Mike also mentioned it. He said, oh yeah, he did. It was like we're twin brothers, right? Because Mike was talking about how it's so easy, or he was implying, he didn't say it like this, I'm saying it. It's so easy to get a job there right now, no matter what age you are. And the reason why is because it would seem as though nobody wants to work.
Not true.
Yeah. And so
not where I live anyhow. There's not a lot of employment here.
We know in California this is true, though, because that's where I'm from. And so you could go walking down the street, and they'll actually try and go out there and grab you into their place of business and say, hey, would you like a job? Doing what? I ain't doing that for nothing, for any kind of money.
When I was working for Amazon recruitment,
right?
They had to offer bonuses to sign in, and you had to stay so long. You got so much after so long and so much later, and people were really, when do I get the bonus? They were signing up to get the bonus.
Right.
They were giving them like $1,000, $2,000.
Well, yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that actually is the kind of stuff that's going on in California right now. Is that they're offering all kinds of incentives, increasing the hourly wage.
This was 2 years ago. I know they were doing it then for about a year.
There's a lot of manufacturing work here in Western Pennsylvania, but a lot of it they want to bring you in through a service. They don't want to hire you direct for at least 6 months to a year. So
wow.
I
don't see much of that going on at D-Beck. I know they have those services there, but
Amazon does it.
Yeah, those staffing agencies.
That's why Amazon has staffing agencies.
Amazon, if you're working in a warehouse, you work for Amazon.
Not when I worked for Amazon.
The drivers are contract.
No, when I worked for Amazon, we couldn't work for Amazon direct for 6 months to a year. They bring you in through a company called Integrity Staffing.
How long ago was that?
I was at. They did not have that there, so that must have been a Pennsylvania thing because.
No, it's not a Pennsylvania thing. It's It's Robbinsville, New Jersey, at their big warehouse. It's
But what I'm
Middletown,
saying is
Delaware, at their warehouse there.
but here
Anywhere
in
on
New
the East
York,
Coast.
here in New York, they harm direct.
Yeah, it's hard to get direct in Pennsylvania and Delaware.
Well, like I said, here in New York, they harm direct.
I
Now,
really can understand why they would do it that way. You know, because they're checking out your skills before they actually put you on permanent, and it's costing them a little bit. It's costing them less money because
because the direct hires, they have insurance starting day one.
I see.
Like I said, I was in there when they came into where I was working at. They came in to finish their paperwork and take a drug test. If they passed that drug test, the job was theirs.
Right.
I mean, they've already did everything else. The background check was done. All that.
It depends on how tight the market is. In Robbinsville, New Jersey, they got a ton of people because they're only 20 minutes out of Pennsylvania. Yeah. To only bring in through integrity. They got an integrity office right in the Amazon building. And Middletown, Delaware.
I think they may be doing that in California also. I'm not sure they do direct hire.
Like I said, now Amazon, the janitorial staff was contract.
Right.
All right. Most of the drivers were contract.
Yeah, they're like self-employed. A lot of them.
Yeah, there's like self-employed, or they might
work. You lease an Amazon van and you work for yourself.
Well, sometimes one guy will have more than one van,
but it depends on where they have the 4 hour fulfillment.
Brian, you keep talking about that illegal stuff, but quite frankly, U.S. population is in decline, and so I think part of this, I wouldn't be able to share with you what my personal opinion is because I haven't formulated one. But truth of the matter is, we need the labor force in the United States, and I'm not saying that
here's something that
allowing everybody to come in is the answer, because you certainly want to know who's coming into your country.
Yeah. Here's something anyway.
I'm all for immigration. Let's just do it.
But I mean, you could let 20 million people in, and we still don't have enough to backfill the number of people that are getting ready to retire from the workforce.
Well, here's something you're missing too, Dan.
Yeah.
When you let all these people in and you let them come in legally hired with a green card.
Yeah.
One of the big things they do is pay a lot of taxes.
Right.
And not that's just right. We need that to help our deficit and our budget.
Right. That's a good point that you're making there. That's an excellent point.
And
now so
it would be over $8 billion a year.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, capital letters is kind of like yelling at people. you know,
they talk about caravans approaching the border in Mexico.
Right.
Then people are just approaching the border every day. I had a lady yelling at me one time about somebody coming from Guatemala with a 3-year-old and a baby on her hip, and how that they were going to be drug dealers and criminals coming in. I said, that lady did not walk 1,000 miles with 2 children to come hold up the United States. She's not too much of a threat. Give her some diapers and a warm meal and a place to stay. Watch her get a job and take care of her children.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share something with you. I don't know if I've talked about it on a live, but I went down there. I went down there to the Tijuana border when they were doing all the news online about the trains bringing them up from southern Mexico and that sort of thing. So I hired somebody locally there as a tour guide in Tijuana to take me through parts of the town where the new arrivals or the newcomers were setting up camps. And they were saying to me, it was a very nice young lady. I would say she was about 27, 30 years old with a child. And she told me she obviously needed the money. But she was saying that it's not like what you think. So I don't want you to be shocked with what you see. But I am going to accept the challenge of touring you around because most of these people know me. But I just wanted to let you know in advance that that some of these camps are controlled by the locals. I said, the locals? What are you talking about? Well, there's a lot of money to be made from the immigrants, and so shall we say that
highly involved?
Yeah, exactly. It's very territorial. I said, okay. So in other words, some people may be looking at me funny, but as long as I'm with you, they're gonna give you the okay to come through. And she said, yeah. So basically, we went through, and what she was telling me was exactly correct. I was able to observe exactly what was going on, and I was totally and completely amazed that for the most part, the United States had gone in there and they had set up encampments, and they set up a quite organized scheme for taking care of all the newcomers as they were waiting to figure out, if they were eligible for entry or not. And so they had it all organized so that they had one section was the food, the meal serving area, and I happened to be there at mealtime. So they had it very organized. So they had lines of people that would be served based on their surnames. They would come in and they would access their meals at certain times of the day. So then they had it all set up so they would go over to the table when it was their turn to be screened for the application process. All this was being controlled and the money provided by the U.S. government. So I don't know if you would be shocked to learn that this was going on, but everything down there was quite organized. They were providing tents for the people to live in, and they had specified areas in Tijuana where they would set up legal encampments where all services were provided for. So that means sanitation and the whole thing. So, I mean, it was quite organized, and I actually was quite surprised by how organized it was. But obviously, a lot of money was coming in there, right? A lot of money was coming in there from the United States to make sure. I'm sure this had something to do with part of the deal that was cut between the United States and the Mexican government to be able to handle the influx of all these people. So you got to go down there. You got to go. The only way to do this is don't pay attention to whatever the media is saying or trying to say to you. You got to go down there and you have to actually investigate it yourself. And by the way, I saw one of the most shocking things I've ever seen, which was we got there just a couple of minutes after one of the locals had been assassinated. And I was pretty amazed at how all that was handled. I don't know if I mentioned this or I did this on a video. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I actually videotaped this and presented it. But as we were arriving, I sent my tour guide over to find out what happened because the cops had just showed up. And while I was standing there, they were throwing the tarp over the body. But I noticed something that was very interesting. The cops, they were just sort of treating this as another day in the neighborhood, which is a little bit different than the way the U.S. police handle this when there's a murder.
Well, it probably depends if it was a gang member.
Yeah,
they're probably going to say, "Okay, it's just another day. They'll take care of it. We're not going to."
Yeah. Well, what ends up happening is that, she goes over and talks to them and talks to some of the locals who are just hanging around. It's an everyday occurrence, apparently, this sort of thing. And she comes over and tells me, oh, well, it was a dispute between him and one of the bar owners. He goes in there often. He drinks a lot, and then he runs up a tab, and he never settles his tab. So the bar owner basically came out one day and had to listen to the same diatribe. When are you going to pay me? Oh, I got money coming from relatives and blah, blah, blah. And then he had enough of it and he just shot him. And so now what was interesting about this whole thing, he shot him right between I never saw anything like it, but apparently it was a small caliber weapon because it just went through the
probably a
forehead. It
22
made a very
or smaller.
small. Yeah, it was
9
a very
millimeter.
small. Yeah, it just went tush, and I didn't notice anything out of the back end. I'm sure there was an exit wound there, but I didn't see it. Well, anyway, turns out the police go over, talk to him, and everybody just kind of shrugs and they just throw the tarp over him, and then they just stand by while they wait for the meat wagon to come pick the body up, and that was the end of it. Nobody gets arrested. Nobody goes to jail.
Now, when I was in the
one
Navy in San Diego,
one
going
police
down to
car shows
Tijuana,
up to conduct the investigation, and then everybody disappears. That was it.
like I said, when I was in the Navy in San Diego and going down to Tijuana, if you went down during the day, it was very safe.
Yeah.
But if you went down at night, then you wanted to go down in a group. Because as long as
Well,
you were in a
we
group
were-
of 3 or 4 people, you were okay.
So she was telling me, she was showing me the safe zones, right? And so she was saying, if you're going westbound from the arch to the beach, that's the safe zone. So that's the tourist area. Everybody loves money, and so they don't bother the tourists in that area.
Yeah.
But if you're going north towards the border, towards the United States, from the Arc, and you're going to where that street and those alleyways meet the border, that is controlled by the gangs, and that's the part of the town that you don't want to be in. The area here in the center of Tijuana, she said, is controlled by the police, and that would include all the areas of prostitution.
Yeah.
She said this is controlled by the police, and so if you're in this zone, the police are patrolling and they're making sure that no harm comes to the tourists.
Now, like I said, when you went down there, day or night, during the day you could walk down to the shopping area. You got really good deals down there, buying leather jackets and stuff like that. But if you went down there for the evening for the bars and stuff, whether you're going prostitution or just because when you were the kids in San Diego that were in high school would go down there on the weekends to go drinking. So there was 3 bars that were pretty much limited to Americans. They kept Mexicans out unless they were with Americans, or they had American ID, like they were in the military or something. And but if you were going down there, when you came back, you wanted to take a cab back just so you could.
Oh, absolutely! You still do that. You still do that even to this day.
You do it more. You do it more so today than back then.
Okay, so there's interesting conversation going on in the chat, but it's kind of leaving. It kind of leaves Filipinos out of the conversation, but not really. I'll tell you why. It's because they're lifting restrictions, a lot of restrictions for Filipinos that are able to obtain a work visa in the United States. I don't know if you guys know this or not. And so Brian's saying any American family that has kids shouldn't be taxed, but they're not. Brian, they're not. They're taxed up front, and then the money is being returned to them through the child tax credit and through the
they still pay some tax, but they get
earned income tax credit. Well, my kid doesn't.
Yeah.
So in other words,
how much you pay? I got a buddy who gets all of his money back. He's got 2 kids.
So does my kid. He gets all the money back and then some.
Yeah.
They actually pay people. They actually pay people that have children.
Yeah, but there are people that pay. They still pay tax, just not as much because you deduct what you get for each kid.
Right.
But they're making so much money, they're still paying a tax.
Yeah,
well, that's the unearned income tax credit you're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. It's your earned income tax credit. So, Brian, if you're under a certain income ceiling, as Larry has pointed out, and Craig is underneath that limit, probably barely underneath that limit, you're not going to be paying any income tax. And so maybe that ceiling needs to be raised, and so that would be another argument.
And you don't get that back if you're on a green card, by the way. If your kids aren't in the United States as with you and stuff, even though you have a green card, you don't qualify. Your income tax is totally different.
Yeah, well, they got to be living with you, yeah.
They got to be your dependents living with you,
Yeah.
and they got to be physically within the United States.
Actually,
Hey, by the
if you're in
way,
college, you can still claim them, even if they don't live with you.
Mike and Janet's channel. So Mike said a couple of interesting things, right? I didn't know that Mike had work in Albuquerque and also in Las Vegas, because he gave two examples of how the labor force is changing in the United States, and I think that I've sort of seen it. You know, I've sort of seen this occur while I was working. You know, where you'll have a group over here that is they're very protective of their right to free speech and their right to work under decent working conditions. And there's a group over here that seems to be more concerned about impressing their boss and giving 110% while you're working. And you know, how many guesses do you need as to what category I was in? You know, I was kind of in, even though the work wasn't very demanding, I kind of did as until the last 5 years, I would say I worked my ass off, but I kind of also tried to stay underneath the radar as much as possible. But I very seldom would complain about things when I'd see them happen. In other words, I'm a live, let live kind of guy. And so, in other words, when I'd see stuff happening, I never took it personally. I just kind of let it flow. I kind of went with the flow of things.
They always hire me to produce and run their business.
Eddie's in the house.
Yeah, Eddie's here.
Yeah.
I already said hi to him.
The Ed Posse!
Now, what I'm going to say here may not make a whole lot of sense, and it might. Brian earlier said we don't need an income tax. I would agree with that only if we did a sales tax on, and everybody had to pay it. I mean,
yeah, national sales tax is called the value-added tax. That's what they do in the Philippines.
The VAT.
A VAT. And they've tried to push that forward, and that's a great way to handle it, because if you're doing a VAT, even criminals have to pay the tax.
Yeah,
criminals pay the tax because they got to go to the store and they got to spend the money on things that they need. You know,
like I said, even the rich. It doesn't matter if they send somebody else to the store,
right?
Or if they go buy a yacht, you pay a VAT. And now you can the government can decide whether it's a 5%,
yeah,
10%.
You know, Mike. So here's the difference, Mike. The difference is I agree with you 100%. I'm more than willing to pay the tax if we get free health care as part of the deal. Sign me up. But, you know, the insurance companies, here in the United States, they monetize everything, including human health. And so that's the problem with the United States healthcare system. They monetize everything. I mean, it drives you crazy. You know, even now they're starting to ration medical care. It almost seems like they're waiting for people to die before they have to pay for treatment in some cases.
I got casts on both legs. My medical will not give me crutches.
That is so weird.
Hey, how would you like that one? They said I don't qualify for them.
I had I twisted an ankle when I was in the VA system, and they gave me crutches, right? I get off the crutches, and they're the metal crutches.
Yeah, Brian.
You can adjust, and they wouldn't take them back.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Brian, I read the story, and I got to tell you, the 16-year-old kid was not an innocent. So I know you're just stating a point of fact, right? But, you know, life in the neighborhood is hell, you know, especially you're involved if you have gang ties. So that's all I have to say about that. It's not an innocent that was shot at.
Yeah. So they had just here recently. I can't remember where he was at. A guy just dropped off his two sons. I can't remember whether it was with a family member or a school, and he had his 1.5-year-old or 2-year-old, I think 2-year-old daughter in the car seat strapped in, and he was heading home. And the boys were like I want to say 6 to 9. They were school age. So I think he took them to school. And he's heading back home, and there's a tire laid right in the road. So he stops the car, turns these four-way flashers on, gets out to move the tires, and shot dead. Nothing was stolen. The kid in the car was never touched. So they said it was a target. It was planned, targeted. So why? Did he do something to somebody? Did he? Was he involved in gangs? They don't say. They just
Yeah, you see,
That's a little too vague, Larry, because you don't even say.
Well, that's all they told you.
Yeah, you don't say where it happened at. The United States is a big place.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where it happened. He was targeted.
Yeah, you know, they're innocents are victimized. Of course they are, but not this kid that not this kid that Brian was referring to. So Brian, maybe Brian wants. How do I know?
Eddie said you shaved your beard. It looks like you knocked off quite a few years off your life. In other words,
yes,
you look a lot younger.
I cut off my freak flag. Thank you.
Yeah, Mike. To answer this comment, you know, we go around the world and then we tell everybody, yeah, you know, we're the most stable government in the world, and so you use our money as reserve currency, and everybody does it, you know, because they agree. You know, they say, okay, we're going to use the U.S. dollars because we.
All right, Tim, take care, man.
Tim's out, huh?
Yeah, Tim's out. He said, take care, everyone. I'm out of here.
All right, so you know you have this going on, and then. I wonder if I'm even allowed to comment, because since I'm living in the Philippines now, people would say, "Hey, why, you know, why did you leave the United States?" I think I need to do a video on it, because I haven't actually left the United States. You know, it's kind of complicated. But anyway, Mike, and then we use the dollar. We weaponize the dollar by saying we're going to sanction you if you don't do what we tell you to do, you know. And so that's
with their own citizens.
Yeah, you know, so we go out there, we convince the world, hey, use our dollars for reserve currency, and then when they don't do something that we want them to do, then we figure out a way to weaponize that dollar. And so, I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know about the whole. I would say that you get that right now, if there's a movement, Brian, concerning this particular topic, there's a movement to desensitize children to accepting violence and pornography, something like that. That's my own personal opinion.
No. I ain't buying any of that.
Hollywood is part of the conspiracy, if you will.
Dan, they talk about all that so they don't have to talk about everything else.
All right, give me an example then. I'm waiting.
They don't talk about the budget. They don't talk about medical care that they promised us every 2 weeks.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you.
They don't talk about gun control or any kind of
very good points. I cannot argue. I don't have an argument against what you're saying. I actually accept the argument.
Talk about everything else, but don't let drag queens read to little children. But I don't know any drag queens that shot 20 little kids.
Yeah, I believe that. I
still don't think drag queens should be in school reading.
No, what he's saying basically, and I believe this with all my heart, is that it's to distract you from the things that are things that are important, the things that will cause you.
They were talking about
it's to distract you from what's actually going on behind the curtain in the land of Oz.
They were talking about transgender high school athletes for a week in Idaho State Senate the other week. Do you know how many transgender high school athletes they have? 2.
It doesn't matter if there's a problem. There's a problem.
There's no problem, Larry. There's 2. Let's hear about something that goddamn matters, like medical care for the rest of the state.
They shouldn't talk about that, but they should talk about.
But they don't talk about it. They talk about a problem of 2 high school kids.
Yeah, quite frankly, if they did talk about it, there would be riots in the streets. It would be 1960s all over again.
Yeah, they talk about 2 high school kids as opposed to medical, as opposed to housing, as opposed to poor people and tax laws and gun laws.
why should the girls be subject to a guy undressing?
Larry, you don't get it. You're still on the wrong subject.
But I'm saying, though, that is a subject that matters to parents.
Larry, it don't goddamn matter to maybe but a high school or two. There's 2 kids in the whole state. They don't talk about everything else.
I'm sorry, if I had kids going to school in that state, I would.
Larry, let's talk about something that's like worth a couple $1,000, and let's let stuff that costs millions of dollars just burn on the wayside. That's what you're for.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is it would be an easy fix if everybody would just say, you're right, the guys should go to a different. I'm not saying they should go to a guy's. They should have their own dressing room.
Yeah, hey, Larry, I agree with you. Now let's debate that for a week and not talk about why 4 million people in the state. Wait, let me finish. You interrupted me. I didn't interrupt you. Let's talk about why 4 million people in the state don't have medical. Why we talk about why 2 high school kids, because they're transgender, shouldn't be able to play volleyball.
I don't care if they play volleyball. They shouldn't be getting undressed in front of the girls. Is what I'm saying.
Nobody said that. You brought that up. Let's talk about why 4 million people in the state don't have medical. Why don't we talk about something that really matters?
Because they've been talking about that for years and still don't have it.
Yeah, but let's talk about 2 individuals as opposed to 4 million people. You get distracted too easy on 2 individuals when I'm talking about 4 million people.
All righty then. How is your day going?
I got to go cool off because I don't want to ruin your stream, Dan. But
some of the things that you have said, they have to be said. I mean, truth of the matter is, America. They just keep feeding us crap. Welcome to Slavelandia. Quite frankly, Your point is well made. They just keep feeding us crap, and I think Brian's right. Brian,
baffle us with bullshit.
I think Brian's right. I don't know, Brian, if you need to make this illegal or you may need to make that illegal. That is just a desperate attempt to stop people from being distracted. But truth of the matter is, as a human being, no matter where you are out of the world, you got to wake up to what's going on in your own neck of the woods.
I don't care if the ladies volleyball team loses a couple games because some guy in a dress was playing. Let's cover 4 million. Let's cover 4 million people with medical.
Exactly, but yet stuff like that, like the transgender that's on a Budweiser can, for example, ends up being front page news. So your point, in my opinion, is well made.
I'm just so sick of not being able to have proper medical because I got to deal with it. And all these people that aren't for socialized medicine, well, all these people that aren't for socialized medicine, if they've been in the military and they're veterans, they're getting socialized medicine that the rest of us are ineligible for. But they're not for socialized medicine, but they're a veteran getting it.
That is a good point. That's a very good point. Eddie is saying I have always been interested in a fair tax act where everyone pays the same, and you pay at the store. If a millionaire wants 10 TV, but you know why it'll never happen, Eddie? It'll never happen because that means that you won't need so many IRS agents, to come knocking on your door.
The state of Delaware is not tax free. The merchants in Delaware pay a 2% tax. The consumer's not charged the tax because the merchants pay it.
Well, the consumers pay the tax because the merchants will pass it on, which is what they should do. But that's just being hidden. They're saying, "No, we're not going to tax the consumer. We're going to tax the businessman." And what does the businessman do? He adds 2% to his price. So
interestingly enough, though, places like Lowe's and Home Depot charge it in Pennsylvania, but they don't add it on in Delaware. I often used to go to Delaware from Pennsylvania to buy things.
Yeah.
TVs, pellet stoves, $1,000.
Yeah, well, Tim is making the point. I said that they monetize everything, and that's pretty much where insurance companies come into play, where they control the paying of they control your medical care based on what they will pay for.
Yeah.
And so
your insurance does the same thing.
You have idiots there that don't have any medical experience whatsoever making the decision on your health.
Yeah.
And we're
I
saying,
can order a pair of crutches from Amazon for $99. If I get them from my insurance company, they got to come from a medical agency, and they charge over $300. Same
Eddie says they're cheap at Goodwill. Ed,
they're free. If they have them, they give them away because they don't resell them.
I had a pair, and they wouldn't. I got my pair through the VA, and they wouldn't take them back.
Nope.
So I had to find somebody else to give them to. Because it was silly having that around when I didn't need it.
But
because if I got hurt again, they'd give me a brand new pair.
We need to go with socialized medicine in this country, and people just don't want to admit it.
Well, they tried to sell it to us that Obamacare was socialized medicine in a way. Everybody will
Obamacare is not Obamacare. Mitt Romney invented Obamacare for medical for the state of Massachusetts. It's the Affordable Care Act. It is not Obamacare.
That's what they called it, though. You know that. That's what they
called it. Yeah, but they mislabeled it.
Well, they
mislabeled it. And then, of course, they tried to revamp it. They tried to, Hillary Clinton tried to claim it.
I like what Obama had to say right after he got out of office. He said he couldn't do it perfect. He could only do what he could do, but he covered 11 million more people by the act that he put in Affordable Care than anybody else. And if Trump and the Republicans for 1 minute could have covered more people or done it cheaper, they wouldn't have told you for 6 years that in 2 weeks we're rolling out a new health plan. I'm still waiting. Trump's out on the stump again telling us how he's going to run, yet he doesn't talk about any kind of budget, policy, or anything. The Republicans right now are saying, let's cut the deficit by all these percentage points, but they'll talk about percentage points, but they won't show us their budget. So they're just lying to your face.
Well, both sides do that if you ask me.
Yeah, Brian, but you didn't say he wasn't. That was the whole point, and that's why I interjected. You didn't say that kid wasn't innocent. Yeah, but I did. I'm the one that had to say that it is what it is. So
the kid that got shot in Mexico?
No, the kid that got shot on the street I used to live on.
Well,
in Sacramento, right?
In Sacramento,
yeah.
Well, American Avenue and West El Camino. So he was basically just a couple blocks from where the old house was.
Okay.
They shot a 14-year-old kid on a train deck for the L in Philly yesterday.
Didn't hear about that.
I don't view a 16-year-old kid who acts like a man as a kid, Brian. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So he's not a child.
They shoot too many children in this country, especially in the drug neighborhoods, because they're expendable.
And the thing is, though, a lot of that is kids shooting kids.
Well, that you're very right, Larry. Another thing is, they talk about how violent of a city Philadelphia is. Do you know that most of all that violence happens in like a 30 to 60 block area?
Oh yeah,
it's a very small area. It's parts of North Philly, what we call the Badlands. It's not in South Philly. It's not in West Philly, although there's a lot in West Philly too. It's not in Northeast Philly. It's all along the L in like the K&A, Kensington. I know the city very well. And it's very small areas that have this intense drug traffic and these corners. It's a battle over who sells what on what corner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
all the gang fights and gang wars, whatever you want to call them,
it's all over
control of an area.
Yes, it's all about controlling the drugs.
Yeah, well, it's either
they got this new drug in Philly that they're selling all over.
But it's all about control.
Have you heard about Trank? It's a
No.
horse tranquilizer and fentanyl mixed, and it turns these people in like a zombie. And they're doing so much of it. People are they walk bent over so far that their hands are dragging on the street, and they're all messed up on it. And I live in Western Pennsylvania, 7 hours out of Philadelphia, and there's so much Philadelphia mob drug control in Johnstown, where I live, that stuff is showing up here.
Nicole.
And I'm a 7 hour ride away.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole.
But I don't want to go off. I mean, I'm
Like I said,
tired of
here
being
in New
beat.
York, they finally legalized marijuana, and hopefully that'll cut back on some of the other drugs because it may not.
Marijuana is still illegal in Pennsylvania, and it doesn't matter because in Western Pennsylvania, they're all jumping in their car with their suitcases. They're driving to Michigan where they got so many dispensaries that the price of marijuana is down to $100 an ounce. You drive out there with a few $1,000s, fill your suitcase, throw it in your trunk, and come back to Pennsylvania and make a whole lot of money.
Well,
So it's just like it's legal here.
Now they can drive to New York in certain areas and get it.
It's cheaper in
Canada.
Michigan.
It's legal in Canada.
It's cheaper in Michigan now.
Is it? I couldn't tell you. I don't use it.
It's $100 an ounce if you're buying it in quantity in Michigan.
That doesn't sound cheap to me.
Well,
I'm sorry, that does not sound cheap.
That's less than half the street price.
That might be, but that's not cheap. $100 an ounce is not cheap.
Why? That makes a pound.
But there is an argument. I'm reading comments in the chat. I got to tell you, there is an argument that the younger generation, we're talking about millennials in particular, are starting to figure everything out, and that's the reason why we're having a sort of a shift in American culture that is occurring right now, where work is concerned, and how they view home ownership, and how they view access to medical care.
Well,
for example, in California, they know that if they keep under a certain income limit, they get free health care through the Medi-Cal program. And so I've actually had people tell me that they will only work for so many hours per week so they can get the free health care that Medi-Cal provides. And, I don't know if you know this or not, but by 2027 or is it 2025, California is going to be offering free medical care also to all those who financially qualify that are non-citizens of California. So basically it means that we're so generous in the state of California that there is the possibility that people will move from other states to the state of California to take advantage of the free medical care that we have there.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I knew women that were on welfare, and a lot of them did not take jobs because it paid enough money that they would lose their health care for the kids.
Right.
And
exactly.
So it was like, I go to work and make money, but now I don't have health care for my kids. So now I'm not worse off than I was on welfare.
Yeah, that's an example. That's an example of what I was talking about. In other words,
we pay so much for medical between employment agencies that offer it and the federal government that we pay more for medicine and medical than anybody in the world. And we have more than enough to cover all of our people if we just flipped that over and went social and collected all that money and said, we're going to fund all the doctors, all the hospitals, and all the medical.
Well, that was the same argument that was being made back in the 80s on legalizing marijuana. They were talking about how much money they're spending on trying to bust marijuana.
Yes.
And how much is still coming in. They said if you legalize marijuana, you'd make more than that in taxes and all this other stuff.
Well, here's another thing to consider. When I was in high school, from the age of high school to 30, I smoked marijuana just about every day. And I quit because I just felt like it didn't do it for me anymore. A lot of the kids today in high school, especially, don't use marijuana, and marijuana consumption is actually down in this country, not up. Even though we're legalizing it everywhere, marijuana consumption overall is down.
It might be, but I know where I work, a lot of guys come in stoned.
Well, it's very
You can
popular.
smell it on them.
It's still very popular. I mean, I could take you to $1 million homes on the main line in Philadelphia area, where the local pot dealer shows up, sells mom and dad weed, and sells the whole family weed and leaves. They're all very wealthy, and they're all smoking it.
Yeah. Well,
I know people that make
Well, we
$50
have
million a
Mike.
year.
So Mike is pointing out, he's explained to Brian that social medical treatment means everyone gets health care. The state and government runs it, and it's paid through taxes. And so there are organizations popping up in the United States that the bureaucrats tried to roadblock that are based on social medicine, and that is that they will offer through their church or through their credit union or their union. They will offer a collective or a cooperative where everybody contributes so much money every month, and then when somebody needs,
you can go to the clinic.
If the government's running the socialized medicine, there's usually an outlet that you can go to if you want to pay more money.
Right.
Yes, and that's a good thing
private
too.
Care if you want.
Right.
But here in Johnstown, if you have no way of medical, or you need to see a doctor immediately and you have no money, or you have no medical coverage, you can go to the free clinic and they'll take whatever medical card you have and see you immediately. Or if you have nothing, they'll see you for free. And if you need a script, they will front you the script at the local pharmacy. Not a full script, but they'll get you something and advise you to go to public assistance or whatever to continue. They have social work and medical all in one, all under one roof. If more places had that, we would all be a better place to live.
Well,
so when was the last time you had a shooting where they took out more than one person, Mike, in Canada, like where they went to a university or a mall?
They don't have all that in Canada.
No. And another thing about Canada and guns, they don't have the history with guns like we do.
No, they don't. You can't run around with handguns in Canada and stuff. You can't open carry. And I got an important point that you're always for arming the teachers and everything, Larry.
Yeah.
They've done studies on that. If you armed everybody in a school, all you've done is made the schools more dangerous. You're not making them safer. Because you need somebody to go off that has access to a gun. More guns is more crime. Less guns is less crime. It's a proven fact everywhere.
Well, I'm sorry, but in the schools, there's not been a shooting in the schools by teachers at all.
But they're not armed.
That's right. They're not armed.
Right.
So they can't even
Right.
defend
And they should
themselves
never
or
be.
their students. And who shoots? Who does all the shooting? It's usually somebody from the outside that comes in.
Right.
Occasionally it's a student. But most of the time, it's somebody from the outside that comes in with guns.
What they do in Delaware.
So, like I said, if you don't want to arm the teachers, that's fine. Let's have armed guards there. People that are
what they do in Delaware, especially in the elementary school.
Mike, you make a good point.
There's no armed guards in Delaware.
Here's
in
Brian's
the elementary schools, but the principals are in their office all day. And they're former state police, and they have a closet that's locked up in their office. And I've never seen them open that closet, but I can only imagine what they have.
Yeah. Man, this stream is going sideways. This stream is going sideways. Mike,
the gun thing.
Mike, you're killing me. I agree with Mike. Why would you protest against drag queens? And then Brian says because they're disgusting and sexualizing children. I don't think I've ever seen a drag queen trying to sexualize my child.
Sexualizing children.
I don't believe so. I mean, so that's the go-to.
And they're not.
That's the go-to line, Brian. Yeah, I guess.
Can we have somebody
That's
come in dressed as, wait a minute. Can we have somebody come in dressed as Minnie Mouse to read to the children?
Yeah.
Because if it's a guy, then that's a drag queen too. So stop it. It doesn't equal.
Wow. Heavy duty topics today. And can you imagine all I wanted to do was talk about something boring like
You know what it is? And
the ancient cities of the Philippines.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. There's just too many volatile things going on in the United States right now. You should be glad you're in the Philippines because they don't have all the gun culture that we have here. It's too much.
You know what? You know what, Brian? You were raised a lot more liberal in a lot more liberal environment than you're projecting yourself in this stream.
And
so I'm a little bit surprised at you, Brian. I got to tell you the truth.
Nobody was raised with more guns than me. My father had.
He said liberal, not conservative.
I said liberal, not conservative. Yeah.
Now you were.
I'm very liberal.
Yeah, but
I was not raised conservative. Yeah, I was raised liberal.
I was raised conservative.
I was raised as liberal as could be.
And I'll bet you I'm one of the few here that have voted for Democrats for president and Republicans for president. Can you say that, Eddie?
I cannot say that I voted for any Republicans recently.
That's what I'm saying. So you're just left. I'm center. Now, sometimes I'm really right. Left. Sometimes I'm left. That's what a center
I made the better choice financially. I always looked at their tax program and what they talked about. And I knew Donald Trump from Atlantic City. I could have never voted for him.
I look at who I think is going to do the best for the city I'm living in, the state I'm living in, or the country I'm living in. I
got to look at everybody that voted for Donald Trump and go, na boo boo, he got you.
So what? Biden got you? Because you can't tell me Biden's any good.
Biden didn't get me to the level that Trump got this country. You got to be kidding.
Oh, please.
Yeah, please.
Well, I think that watching people coming close to fisticuffs is entertaining. LV.
I would never. I'm not like that. I'm just a mouthpiece.
But anyway, let's be.
Wait a minute. I love Larry like a brother. We're both Americans.
Yeah, let's be kind to each other in the stream.
No, we are. And we can agree to disagree. And we'll never
be kind to each other in the comment section. Is mostly what
Larry knows. Wait a minute. Larry should know deep down in his heart that we could sit down and have breakfast together, and we wouldn't have to have plastic silverware. You know, we're great friends. Don't get me wrong, Dan.
Yeah, plastic silverware doesn't kill people.
I'm teasing.
It won't kill you, but it might put an eye out.
I'm not offended by Larry, and Larry's not offended by me. I hope.
No, like I said, the thing is,
we agree. We really do. When it all comes down to tax, me and Larry do agree.
Politics sometimes didn't belong in the stream. That's it'd be good to have maybe a political stream sometime, but I don't know how well I would do in that. I have my beliefs, but like I said, I have voted, and I voted for Clinton. All right,
and I would never do anything to hurt you, Larry.
I have voted for Democrats for many offices. I was a registered Democrat back in Indiana because the Democrats back in Indiana are more center.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas here where I'm at now, they're far left, and I can't vote for those people. I'm a centrist. I want to look and say, all right, which person is running for this office do I think will do the best job? I got to go by what I know. I can't go by anything else. I can't say, well, this guy's supported by this person unless that person I trust completely. One of the mayors I had back home, happened to be my high school teacher, and he was a Democrat. And I knew he was interested in politics back in high school because we get him on the current events topics, even though it was history. We'd spend the whole hour just talking current events. And I knew the man was, he was more liberal than me, but he was a conservative liberal as far as I'm concerned. He had my vote every time. But there were some others that, no. They weren't.
Yeah, I try not to, Brian, talk in absolutes, and make, make definitive statements that are where I don't have much room to move around. I try and avoid that.
Well, I'm going to say that Brian says he believes in God's word. Well, I believe in the word where God says, "Judge not, unless thyself be judged." I've done some things that are wrong, so I'm not going to judge somebody else. That's God's business, not mine. What I will judge a person by is, do they act right towards me and towards others? Their lifestyle, whether they're homosexual or straight, doesn't matter to me. Are they basically a good person?
Judge them by the content of their character, Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Dan knows we know some gay people. We know some trans, very good people.
Yeah,
and I will defend them. I'm going to tell you something. I lived with a gay couple.
Hey, Brian, I'm gonna time you out a little bit, man. I think you need to cool off.
But
I guess you wouldn't mind drag queens reading to children. It's better than have somebody point guns at them.
It would depend on where they're doing it at. I don't want them in the class. I don't want anybody in the classroom with the teacher or the author of the book. If the author of the book wants to read, okay. If that's a drag queen, that's fine. They're their author. But if
I don't find drag queens offensive. They're obviously not going to come in and talk about sexual topics with children.
But I'm saying there's a lot of libraries that have book readings. That's where that belongs.
Yeah, but
so the parent has the choice whether or not to take them in.
Well, that's true too. But the other point is,
just keep it out of the school. And like you said, Minnie Mouse, keep her out of the school. Keep them all out of the school.
Sexual content for children is inappropriate at any time.
That's right.
Let's go that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. But like I said, I just don't want it in the school.
But I'm tired of them,
especially the grade school.
Us. I'm tired of them distracting us with that when there's so many other things that we're not getting right.
Well, I think what's going on, and this is, I'm going to try to get off this subject after this. You have two sides that are warring. You got the what they call the woke, who wants to say, hey, if you don't agree with us, you're transphobic, or you're this, or you're that. And you got the other side saying, oh, well, no, you're just evil.
I don't even equivalate woke with anything. I think it's a misused word in any form.
Yeah, but if you watch some of the TikTokers, they'll be there crying because somebody called them a she, and it's a woman trying to act like a man. And they misgendered me, and they're crying about it on TikTok. Get over it. The person may not even know who you were. They may not know you, so they call you what you look like, a female trying to be masculine, or a man trying to be a woman.
I don't care. They should just let people be people.
But that's what I'm saying. Just because they called you a male or a woman, and that's the way you look to them, that's no reason to cry and say.
Well, yeah, that is a slightly different argument there, Sir Luke.
I hate to pull anybody out of the corner of our realm, but look at it this way: would you have a problem with Sammy reading to children? I wouldn't.
No, that's not what I said.
Hey, wait, hold on, because Sir Luke is making an interesting point here, and that is that the problem is that the gender spectrum being pushed in preschool is wrong, and so yeah, I kind of agree in that.
Well, that's that. Wait a minute, the gender spectrum being pushed in preschool, yeah, I'll agree with them. Is wrong, but nobody's doing that.
Let people be people. But I'm not sure that that's right. There,
You got teachers on
Mac
TikTok
Daddy.
saying
I'm not sure
they're
that's
telling,
correct.
telling their kids not,
Because one of the things they do now is the kid has to sign the agreement, that they can't discriminate.
And also they're being told not to tell their parents.
Yeah, and
You
they're
know,
told, yeah, exactly. So
why does Kelly have two daddies? How do you explain that? You got to sometimes talk about it.
yeah, but they don't have to talk about it in preschool.
Well,
I think that's one of the
they're
points.
doing it like in kindergarten and
Yeah, exactly. They're indoctrinating them while they're very, very young.
They're not indoctrinating it. And
you ought to
nobody's
watch some of
spending,
these TikToks where these teachers are talking about how they treat their kids.
nobody's
Oh, yes,
spending a lot
some
of
of them
time
are.
on
I'm
it.
not saying all of them, but some of them are.
Let them find their own, let them find their own way, give them the
Yeah.
opportunity to find their own way, not when they're so
Because let's be honest about it.
when the brain is still
You're
cooking.
4 or 5 years old. You don't know what you want to be yet.
Yeah.
It's
And
all a
there are
distraction, Larry.
there are
They're
male
just
kids that
using
play
it.
with dolls that grow up to be great football players and
Larice.
straight. There's girls that grow up to play that grow up playing baseball and football that turned out to be straight.
Wait a minute. I had G.I. Joe when I was a kid. What is G.I. Joe?
It's a doll. That's what I said. There's guys that play with dolls as a kid that
So-
grow up to be straight.
What's
It's
a
toy.
teddy bear? The doll.
So are you saying, Larry, let children be children? Is that what you're saying?
Let the kids experiment and decide what they want to be on their own.
How can you
And I'm
not?
gonna tell
How
you
can you
something
not
else.
agree with that? How can you
I'm
not
gonna tell
agree
you
with
something
that?
else. No
Do you know
puberty
something about
blockers
children,
until they're
Dan?
18 or older.
Children
'Cause
are if they've presented like legal cases to children and things. And you know what they find out? The children are the most fair individuals in the world. They get it right. When you mix
That's
the
why you don't
adults
have to
in,
indoctrinate them. That's the point. The
that's
whole
why I
point
don't
is
have to argue with them either.
they find their own way.
I
Is
didn't
what
say
I'm
argue with
saying.
them,
That
I'm
we're
just saying-
agreeing. We are actually agreeing with each other.
Yes, we are.
They find their own way. They will find their own way. It's not necessary to talk about all this crap when a kid is just trying to be a kid. They find their own way. They're the
kids are not
fairest, as you
evil.
pointed out. They're fair. They don't discriminate. They're fresh. Their minds are new, and they will find their own way. There's no reason to go in there and tell them what to think.
That's right. They have,
if
and
you
once
think
you
you're a
tell
girl,
them
you're a
what to
girl.
think, you're teaching them a specific way. And you don't need to do that. You're exactly right.
All right.
And I'm sorry, but this thing, well, there's more than two genders is wrong. I love Sammy to death. And Sammy will tell you, she's not a real girl.
Well, there's
told me
not
that up
more
front.
than two genders.
There's not more than two genders. Now, you may have gender dysphoria, which is a real thing, which means
Yes.
you believe you're the opposite sex.
Well, you relate better to the opposite.
Well, some people believe that they're in the wrong body. They should be. That's gender dysphoria.
Actually, some
You
people
believe
physically
that
are.
you
That's
are
a
a
proven
female
thing.
in a male's body. That's what they call gender dysphoria.
But
you believe
that's
that.
a proven thing. That is for
Yes,
real.
that is for fact. But what I'm saying is they should not be able to act on that until they're 18 or older. Because once you start taking some of those puberty blockers, some of that's irreversible. So let's make sure you're not going through a phase and you're of legal age to sign a
For the
contract.
individual and the parents to decide, and the medical community.
It depends on how young you want to go, because I'm not. There's no way I'm voting for somebody under 16. There's just no way. Now, if they want to raise their son as a daughter, fine. I'm saying taking steps to make sure they can't ever have kids, or they're taking the blockers. I'm against that.
A lot, but I say once again, like as always, you shouldn't tell people and dictate their medicine.
Yeah. But like I said, though, I'm just saying I want the child to be mature enough to know what they're doing, and I don't think
Thank
a
you for hanging
13-year-old
around
will.
21 million people in the stream. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm
Yep.
surprised they're still here.
Well, they're probably here because of the conversation. That's what I'm starting to think.
But what I'm saying is, though,
You know,
like I said,
everybody's kind of like looking around, going, "Look at that! Look at the canos making fools of themselves." You know.
if a person wants to transition, and like I said, that's between them and their belief in God, and like Dan says, their parents and the doctors.
Yeah, how
But I
about
never
it
believe.
between them and their medical professionals?
Well, that's I
Let's
said,
go there.
doctors. I said them, the God, their parents, and doctor. If you don't believe in
Right.
God, then it doesn't matter what God thinks. But
And
what
I'm
saying is, though,
pro-choice.
I think they should be old enough
Let's
to be
throw that
considered
out there.
mature enough to make that decision.
Hey, yeah, you know what I have to say about that, Mike? Brian needs to start his own channel, his own YouTube channel.
Yeah. See how few followers he gets.
I'm not. I wouldn't know. Let Brian start his own channel,
Yeah.
and then Brian can figure it out. But I had to.
You know,
I had to put Brian, in timeout.
The majority of us-
Timeout.
right?
Well, like
The
I said,
majority of us are all
I like
open-minded
Sammy.
about
You know,
that.
I joined Sammy's channel off of yours, and she told me as soon as I was going to join. She goes, I'm not a real girl. I mean, she's up front, and I say she because
Oh.
that's what she prefers. So I
Yep.
don't mind calling, somebody by their preferred pronoun. But if you don't know it and they look like a female and they're a female trying to be a male, and I'm going to call them a man. There's a person at work right now where I work at. I don't know if it's a girl or a guy.
Oh, it's
I
that.
always avoided saying ma'am or, but I finally started saying ma'am or calling her with female, and I've not gotten any pushback on it. So I'm assuming that she's either a girl or she's wanting to be a girl.
It's
Right.
Pat.
She's feminine enough to be a girl. And but she, just like I had to decide how to address her.
Yeah.
You can't just go all the time going, "Hey, how you doing?"
How about by the
Not
first
gonna be-
name? That works.
I don't know her name.
Yeah.
Did you ask her if she's the pitcher or the catcher?
With her. She just comes through where I work at, and I talk to a lot of people that I don't know their names, but I say, "Hey, man, hey, or hey, dude, how you doing?" So I have to decide how to address her.
Right.
Do I call her dude, man? And so I just went with the female address, because she reminded me more of a female than a male.
Well, if there was no pushback, you probably got it right.
Been no pushback.
Oh, I just wanted to remind folks that the giveaway, the 5K in May giveaway, is happening on May 31st. That's May 31st, which is a Wednesday, which is my usual day for doing a live stream. That will happen. We'll get going at 8 a.m., the usual time. And also today, I haven't forgotten, we're still giving away this 100 peso bill. But hey, you know what I'd like to do is, since Sir Luke is here, I like Sir Luke a lot. Sir Luke, why don't you think about
Sir Luke
why don't you think about selecting a winner for today's 100 peso dollar bill here?
Now remember,
And then
they got to be in the
go with
Philippines.
we'll go with what I think Sir Luke is in the land down under, isn't he?
I think so. I'm not.
Yeah, Landers.
I can't remember, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, so maybe Sir Luke, you could take the heat for selecting a winner.
Well, you make me select.
I got to
ones.
address Mike now. Mike, it doesn't matter. But when you address somebody, you want to try to address them by what they want to be called,
Right.
if you can.
Well, Larry, that would be appropriate for you to ask.
Just remember, you can't say "hey" in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'm not in the Philippines, so I can say, hey.
Yes. Hey, you.
Larry, that would be appropriate for you to ask.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would or
They're
not.
just passing through. I work where they enter. That's my
I
job.
understand.
And so if they don't have anything that I have to search, I say hi to people, and they always Like I said, I'm going to call her female. She always
Brian,
says hi.
it was a blast having you here today. You can private message me, and then I will message you back how I got the idea that you were brought more. I realize your dad was very conservative, but the environment was not so conservative, and so that's basically what I was referring to. So if you want more details on that,
Hey,
then you
Mildred.
private message me, and then I'll give you specifics of my thoughts.
Hey, Mildred.
And then, but otherwise, we're good, man. Have a good day at work. We'll see you later.
Take care, Brian.
Take care, Brian.
Have fun, Brian.
All right.
So that's what's nice about the Philippines too. A lot of things are more simple.
Oh, Mike, did you have to go there? I think that I think my boobs are bigger than both Sammy's and Urasawa. I'm almost sure of it.
Do you have a man's beer?
I haven't seen one of those, but I'm surprised because there's a lot of guys who need it.
Yeah.
Oh God. I got C cups, baby.
I got a mouthful. Come on.
Oh no! Say it ain't so.
One time it was actually muscle, but you know how that goes. I used to be in pretty good shape when I was younger.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I used to have a 52-inch chest and a
now we can do now,
whip.
Dan. Yeah. Can we do man boobs on YouTube?
Wet T-shirt for.
There you go, Brian. That's the way to do it. Wow.
But no, like I said, I mean,
I was on Monina's channel the one day, and she filmed her cattle having sex on YouTube and got in trouble for it. They took it down like almost immediately. Yet you can go on YouTube and they got other farm animals getting it on.
I've told you guys before about this turquoise sunrise. It's a Phil-Am couple. They've been married about 20 years. Their daughter's about 11 or 12. And they're living in Valencia right now. But when they were back in California,
Sir Luke, congratulations, Moelma. You're the winner.
Hey, Moelma.
All right, congrats, Moelma.
But anyway, they went to a zoo. And this is before their son was born. Their daughter was probably around 5 or 6, just a few years back. And they were living in Nevada, and they were going to California to see his brother. He's got a twin brother that lived in, I want to say, San Diego. But they stopped at this zoo, and they were filming some of the animals, and they happened to catch 2 zebras going at it.
Yeah.
Talking about the couple farm animals. And that's still up.
Yeah.
That's 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, you see all sorts. Oh, excuse me.
But
you see all
you know
sorts
what the nice thing about today, guys?
Wild animals doing it.
You know what the nice thing is about today, don't you guys? I can sleep in tomorrow. There's no alarm set.
Yep.
That's my favorite thing about Sunday morning. When I get up, I turn the alarm off and do not turn it back on.
Yeah.
Until Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So there's Mike, who finally wants to throw the Bible at us. Be nice to everyone. It's in the Bible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
Well, you want my opinion on the Bible?
Not really.
No, we don't.
I'll share it anyhow. It's a fabled book of a war in the desert that was over a long time ago.
Well, there's something to that.
I didn't hear that, and I took my earpiece out. And I did it just because you're going to do it anyway.
It was nothing bad.
I know. I heard part of it.
Yeah.
It was a fabled book. But,
of a war in the desert that was over a long time ago.
Yeah.
But like I said, though, it was there's some good things in there.
Yeah.
Like be kind, treat others like you'd like to be treated.
It's a good way to live your life.
Yeah.
Well, I can
remember
prove
who
some
said
things
it.
that are in the Bible that they talk about that they actually get wrong in the Bible, but I can show you on the map where it happened.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, though, I can't remember who said it. It was a long time ago. But somebody said, I would rather live my life like there is a God and die and there's not one than to live my life there's no God and die and there is one.
I got a good one for you. When the Pharaoh chased Moses in the desert and he parted the Red Sea,
Yeah.
There's just one letter missing there. It wasn't the Red Sea. It was the Sea of Reeds, the Reed Sea. And if you know anything about the Reed Sea, a couple days a year, they get what they call a blowout tide, where all the water blows out, and if you squash the reeds down, you could walk across it. But when the tide comes back in, you better be gone, or you're going to be standing in 5 or 6 feet of water. That's what happened when they chased them into the Reed Sea. They started taking their chariots across, and when they started getting hung up, because you can only run across it, the water came back in and got them all.
Well, that almost makes sense.
Thank you. And you can look at it. It's on the map between Egypt and Jordan. It's the Sea of Reeds.
You got to remember now, these books were, how shall we say, interpreted how many years later?
Yes.
Well, they were
interpreted in 388.
Well, they were tours and scrolls.
The English Bible, or the King James Version,
well, that was 1588.
Was how many centuries later?
Yeah, that was 1588. The Bible itself
so there's going
was
to be
written
mistakes.
Wow, I'm totally. You know what I'm amazed about? I'm amazed that we made it through the whole live stream without a power interruption. So I guess the generator is doing its job, and I would have no idea if the power came back up yet.
Yeah,
because I told Ma'am Minnie, I said, if it does come up, don't switch me over to the utility, because we want to make sure that we don't get interrupted in the live stream. So
right,
I got another one for you too.
Keep it going.
Crystal believes you're speechless now, Dad.
I'm speechless.
She says, Sir Dan is speechless now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got another one for you. Christ, black or white?
He was probably olive skinned like an Arab.
Probably, yeah.
He was probably black because he came from Ethiopia. Wait a minute. And he went back to Africa to hide among his people.
There's nothing about that in the Bible that I've ever seen.
No, there's nothing about that in the Bible.
Hey, I'll ask him when I see him.
He was from Israel. He was from Israel.
Yeah, he was born in Israel.
He was born in Israel. His mother and father, or Mary and Joseph, were from Israel. And he was born in Jerusalem.
But like you said, he was probably olive skin. He probably wasn't white or black.
No, he was like
he would be like the Arabs.
Like an Arab.
He'd be about the colors of the Arabs.
The Arabs.
Thank you, 21 million people in the stream, and Dan is calling it a day because Dan is.
No, you got 15 more minutes.
Dan is tired. Dan is tired, and he's going to go on his merry way. Yeah, I'm going to have to. He's hot. He's hot, and he's tired. Got no AC running because I don't want to burn the generator up. Yeah. I got to get out of here, guys.
Yeah, you want that donut?
That's all it is.
I want the Boston cream this morning, so I'll take a picture.
You want that donut?
I'll take a picture of me.
I didn't see the butternut. I haven't seen the butternut. That is one of their. That is one of the finest donuts ever made, though, on the planet.
I'm a fan of the cinnamon roll.
I'm sure that Larice will be headed over to Krispy Kreme donut as well.
Personally, I like a Bear Claw.
Yeah, I can't get donuts here where I live.
Not quite.
They don't have them.
What's that, Larry?
I said a Bear Claw is similar to a cinnamon roll, or some of the places
it's just got
call
the
it a
sugar
coffee roll
on the outside. They call it.
So, Larry,
Oh,
Larry, take us out of this live.
Well, folks, all because Dan insists, we have to wish you all a fair adieu.
well,
And
I'm
we
sorry
want to
I missed
remind you
most I
to be
did.
kind to each other. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe and healthy. Plus, as always, try to have fun, people. Have fun.
All right,
Take care.
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. We'll see you next time. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Take care. And Dan,
Good night.
I'm dropping out, boss. You have a good one.